Hello, brothers and sisters. It's good to be with you once again, even if it is virtually. On behalf of the stake presidency, today I'd like to talk to you about our stake's Return to Church action plan. Now, right now, we're working towards tentatively resuming sacrament meetings throughout the stake in August. Now, you will receive a communication from your bishop to let you know the specific date that your ward will resume sacrament meetings. It's going to be different for each ward. We're going to have a staggered restart to our sacrament meetings. And the sacrament meetings are going to be different from what they were before. And so I'd like to go ahead and walk through what our sacrament meetings will look like, what our responsibility will be as participants in that sacrament meeting. Also want to announce that along with the resumption of our sacrament meetings, youth gatherings on a limited basis have been authorized and will be able to happen after the first sacrament meeting. We've also been authorized to hold baptismal services, weddings, and funeral services on a limited basis. Now, I'm not going to go into detail today on the baptisms, weddings, and funerals. If any of those meetings and gatherings apply to you, I encourage you to contact your bishop, who can let you know the specifics and the details on what those meetings will look like during this time. Now, the church has what it refers to as Phase 1, and that is what we have received approval to enter into. Now, for Phase 1 in our sacrament meetings, that means that we are limited to 99 participants. And so our meetings will look a little bit different. They're going to be smaller. And so other than the Hilliard YSA ward, all of our wards are going to be divided into smaller groups. Now, your bishop will let you know what group you've been assigned to. He'll also let you know what time on a Sunday that group has been assigned to meet. It's important, brothers and sisters, that you attend the group meeting that you have been assigned to. Due to the limitation of the number of participants in a sacrament meeting, we cannot accommodate members choosing a different time other than their assigned time. We do have to be strict about the 99 person limit, and those that may show up to a meeting after that limit has been reached will be informed that the meeting has reached its capacity and that they will be invited to return to the meeting of their assignment. Now, what will a Sunday look like? Well, first of all, on a Saturday, your bishop will make assignments for a deep and thorough cleaning of the meeting house. Now, on Sunday, at your appointed time, you will arrive, and there will be one door that will be unlocked and will be used for an entryway. All members are asked to enter in through this door. Now, your bishop will let you know which door of your building that is. Now, the reason for this, it allows each member to come in with their family or as an individual, and it allows for us to make sure that we have an accurate count of those attending the meeting. A young woman will be assigned to stand in the entryway of the chapel holding a bottle of hand sanitizer, and she will be available to put hand sanitizer in each of your hands as you enter into the chapel. Now, each of us will be wearing a mask. And so as we enter into our meetings, it's going to be a little bit different in that we're all going to look something like this. I'll remove it for now so that hopefully you can hear and understand me better on the video. Now, let's talk a little bit about who is invited to attend a sacrament meeting service and those that may be invited to stay home. Now we want to ensure that all of our members exercise caution and that they follow the following guidelines. Remember that returning to meetings at this time is a personal choice. No member should feel obligated or feel that they are putting themselves at risk to attend meetings at this time. Second, high-risk persons, and that's defined by North Carolina as those 65 years or older or with an underlying medical conditions, are strongly encouraged to stay home. Any individuals who do not feel well or who have been asked to self-quarantine or who exhibit any of the following symptoms should not attend meetings: fever, cough, shortness of breath, headache, runny nose, or sore throat. Bishops may continue to authorize worthy priesthood holders to prepare and administer the sacrament in their homes. If there are no worthy priesthood holders in the home, the bishop may authorize the other worthy priesthood holders in the ward to prepare and administer the sacrament in the homes of members who request it. Well, brothers and sisters, if you fall into one of those categories, please know that for your safety, we encourage you to stay home. Now, also encourage you to be in communication with your bishop, so that was stated that he can continue to authorize the sacrament meeting service being held in your home. And we look forward to being able to meet with as many of you as is possible. So in addition to wearing a face mask, as you enter the chapel, you'll be greeted by an usher. The usher will assign you and or your family where to sit. Members will be seated in alternating rows. They'll make sure that there's sufficient space in between members in order to maintain proper social distancing. To minimize the spread of airborne germs, there will be no singing in our sacrament meetings. Instead, the organist or pianist will play hymns that we will be able to listen to mentally and spiritually prepare ourselves to partake of the sacrament. There also will not be any printed programs. We encourage the use of electronic programs which members can access on their electronic devices. Now, the Sacrament Ordinance itself will look different. Now, specific instructions will be given to members of the priesthood for preparing, blessing, passing, and cleaning up after the sacrament. I won't go into all of those differences and requirements right now, but let's talk about what it will mean for you and I as members of the congregation. Well, first, the bread. As the bread is passed, each piece of bread on the tray will be spaced so as not to be touching another piece of bread. The priesthood holder passing the sacrament will maintain control of the tray at all times. He will not pass it to members of the congregation to distribute across a row or to others in their family. Because members of the congregation will be spaced in alternating rows, holders of the priesthood will walk down the empty row to pass the sacrament to those seated in the row immediately behind that row. For those families that have primary age children, the priesthood holder will pass the sacrament to the parent. The parent should then pick the piece of bread and then distribute that to their primary age children. As the priesthood holder passes the water cups will be spaced in alternating slots on the tray. The priesthood holders will carry 2 trays with them during the water portion of the sacrament. One tray will hold cups of water. The second tray will be used to collect empty sacrament cups. Again, the priesthood holder will maintain possession of the sacrament tray during the entire ordinance. He will not pass it to members of the congregation. As he goes from row to row, he will hold one tray so that a member of the congregation can take a cup of water. He will hold the other tray so that the member can dispose of the empty cup in the separate tray. Again, parents of primary age children are asked to take the cup of water from the tray to distribute and pass it to their own children. Once done, they'll collect the cups and dispose of those cups in the empty water tray that the priesthood holder is holding. These changes, brothers and sisters, are in an effort to limit the exposure and the number of people, one, touching the tray, also limiting exposure of the emblems that have not yet been passed to other members of the congregation. We appreciate your help and assistance in following these guidelines. At the conclusion of the passing of the sacrament, the bishop will have either assigned an individual to give a talk, a short 5-minute talk, or the bishop will invite a member of the congregation to share a brief testimony. The entire sacrament meeting should last approximately 30 minutes. This is quite a bit different than what our previous sacrament meetings were like. But in phase 1, we will have this short, abbreviated sacrament meeting. At the conclusion of the sacrament meeting and after the closing prayer, a member of the bishopric will dismiss members of the congregation row by row. As your row is called, you are invited to exit the chapel and continue to exit the meeting house. Please go directly outside of the meeting house once you have been dismissed by the bishop. This, again, brothers and sisters, is to limit the exposure of our members within a closed and confined space. This also will allow time for members of the ward to perform cleaning services right immediately after the sacrament service. Now, your bishop will make assignments as to which members will have responsibility for cleaning. Now, your bishop will let you know, again, as I've said before, which ward unit you are assigned to. Most of our bishops plan to do this alphabetically by your last name. And so please be on the lookout for communications that will come from your bishop as to what time you should plan to meet and participate in that sacrament service. We recognize, brothers and sisters, that this will be a very different way of worshiping together. But it's a start. It's a way for us to begin to start the process of going back to normal services. Now, I mentioned sacrament meetings. Let's talk briefly about youth activities. This is another blessing that comes with entering into phase 1. So after the resumption of our sacrament meetings, wards are then authorized to hold youth activities. Now, these youth activities, similar to sacrament meetings, will be different than what they were before. First of all, no activities or meetings outside of the sacrament meeting should be held in our meeting house. So the youth activities that are authorized are those activities that can be done outdoors. Now, these youth meeting activities also have a limit on the number of participants. Including adult leaders, the total number of participants is limited to 20 individuals. Therefore, no youth activity or gathering should exceed this number. Each ward should decide for themselves as to how they want to group and organize these youth activities that will be held outdoors. Now, consistent with the sacrament meeting, participants should plan on wearing their mask. They should also make sure that they're practicing social distancing. And parents should be informed ahead of the activity so that they know clearly what the activity is and they can decide for themselves if their child will be allowed to participate. Brothers and sisters, we know that these are certainly challenging times for all of us, but we also know that the Lord is aware of us, and that as we strive to follow His will, that we'll be blessed. We'll be blessed to know and make wise decisions for ourselves and for our families. I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.